All right, hello everyone, it's silverkyle, and today I'm going to be reviewing Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, which is book one in her new series that just got its second book that came out 2 weeks ago, so January 2023. Now, spoiler alert regarding how much I enjoyed this book. I just finished reading it. I'm doing the review, and then I'm diving into the second book, like right after this. So within an hour, I'm going to be reading the second book. Having said that, this is not a perfect book. I still had some issues with it, but the positives by far outweigh the negatives for this book. So I'll go into all of that along with what the story is without going into any major spoilers. So if you read like the inside flap, I'll kind of give you an idea of setting up this world, but without going into any major spoilers at all. Very minor, if even that. So the way that I kind of saw this was a murder mystery Harry Potter style book for adults. A dark one at that. And it's that while also not that at all. Obviously, this is its own unique thing, but there's some similarities here. So with the Ninth House, we are set in modern day world, and we're at Yale University, where magic exists in the world and only certain people know about it. Not everybody knows that magic exists. And at Yale University, we have 8 different societies, secret societies, that perform magic on Thursday nights, and they all have their certain aspects of magic that they perform. There's portal magic, there's like stock tips, compulsion, there's a few different areas that they kind of all focus on. And then we have the Ninth House, which oversees all the other 8 houses to make sure that they don't go too crazy and do ridiculous magic that they can't control, because magic is still very chaotic, as it should be. I really enjoyed that. I liked having kind of like an overseer to make sure that things don't go awry, because the other thing that I really thought was well done is that the adults that are there that take part in these rituals don't really do a lot. Like, they know what's going on, and they used to do it when they were younger, but it's all the students that are doing the main aspects of magic, because as an adult, it's too hard on your body. Only the youth can take this kind of magic. That was really well done, and it opens up the door that you're giving all of this power to essentially children, because as an 18, 19, 20-year-old, you've spent the majority of your life being a child. You've just recently become an adult with an adult body, but your mind, for the most part of your life, for the significant portion of it, you've still been a child. And people are power hungry without being a child. And if the younger you are, especially around the 20-year mark, you're very power hungry. So obviously there's aspects there that you are going to be tempted to dive into. And that set up this book perfectly. A lot of the characters, though, I feel are, because that they're students and they're from other houses, they're kind of shady, and you really don't like them. And I think that's kind of the point, that the majority of the characters you don't like. Other than a select few that are kind of the main characters that you're kind of following. But I wish that some of the other characters wouldn't have been necessarily as shady and horrible. I just feel like that would have been a little less dark, because I know that, yes, there are definitely students like this that are just pure pieces of crap, but you do have some people out there that would still be nice and normal, and it wouldn't just be the select few that we kind of see. But that's just me being an optimistic. I see the world glass half full kind of. So we have the main character called Alex, who's part of the Ninth House, so she's kind of overseeing things. And she can also see greys, which are dead people. So she can see the spirits of dead people walking around. And not everybody can unless you take an elixir, which takes a toll on you, and then you can only see them for a while. But she can see them automatically right from the beginning. She's been seeing them her entire life. And there's a lot of aspects in lore and world building that were top-notch in this. And that, to me, was by far the draw of this. Every so once in a while, we're dealing with a murder mystery, which also I didn't know until about halfway through was an actual murder mystery. There's a murder that happens, and I'm like, okay, I just figured that happened on campus, and it's going to be part of the story, but not the actual main focus of it. I thought like everything else was going to be. But this is by far a murder mystery novel dealing with a fantasy world, with a fantasy setting. That's essentially what it is. But the lore and this fantasy world is extremely intricate. And the more you dive into it, the more interesting it gets. So you're dealing with this murder mystery, while another subplot, because Alex goes to this other character for information, but she goes into a quid pro quo, whatever that term is, where, okay, we're going to make a deal. I'm going to get this information. You get me that information and I'll get some information from you. So she starts to dive into the history of these nine houses and the secret societies. And that was where I enjoyed it. Maybe some people don't like research in books, but to me, when you come out with these things, I really enjoyed it. And that's also one of the negatives of this book, because this was my first Leigh Bardugo novel. So I'm not used to her writing style. And at times, when more so at the beginning of the book, she was introducing certain characters, and they would kind of show up, and I would be like, okay, who's that character again? I don't remember this, because I didn't feel that there was enough time spent on specific characters, and they're all kind of shady, so they all seem the same. So I don't remember who's part of which house, if they're just a normal, character, that a student that has nothing to do with the societies, or if they're just a townsperson, which has nothing to do. They're like the outside people are just townies essentially. They're the townspeople. I think something like that. Town girl, town boy, town guy. And that I had a hard time with. Also, certain aspects of the magic system I enjoyed very much, but she would be talking about these specific terms and words, and I'd be like, I don't remember what that does. The thingamabob. I didn't really get it until much later on, when I was used to hearing them over and over again. So I really feel that I would probably enjoy this book as on a reread. And I wish that's one of the few negatives. It's a positive and a negative. I'm happy that I didn't have to wait to read the second novel, because I just read this and I already have the second book. But if I would have got this when it came out a few years ago, then I could have reread it and jumped into the second one to kind of get an even bigger grasp and maybe a bigger appreciation of this book on a reread, because I do really feel that this kind of book would warrant that and excel with a reread. I still very much enjoyed it, and by the last, I'd say 20% of this novel, I was glued. There's stuff that is going on, like it's just an epic story by the end, with twists and turns, red herrings everywhere, but just the last 20% is just absolutely phenomenal. I was glued. I could not put the book down. And then by the end of it, you could also probably read this book as a standalone if you didn't want to get into the rest of the series. Although I feel like by the end of it, there's enough that is left open that you want to see where they're going to go with the next book, because they kind of have some resolutions at the end of it, which I very much enjoyed. But now I just can't wait. Like the end, they ended it, and I was like, I want to know so much more about this world. And now that I understand most of it, I can't wait to dive into this and what they're going to be doing with this. I'm extremely excited for. So I'm going to give the Ninth House a 3.5 out of 5 stars. 4 stars on Goodreads though, and I feel that maybe on a reread I would even give this 4 stars. It could have also just been that I wasn't necessarily paying attention, and that's why some of the writing wasn't exactly my cup of tea, and that I wasn't really following along with what the magic was, the magic of this world at the beginning, and the characters. The main characters you're definitely into, but especially Alex, but everybody else, like secondary characters, I did not grasp as much, and I think that a reread might help in that regard. So anyway, 3.5 out of 5 stars, 4 on Goodreads. Cannot wait to read more of this series. So thank you all for watching. You have been bearded in Beardage.